Here's question 1D. So question 1D talks about how the study was conducted in the USA and the sample was collected from LA and Boston. So the article stated that interviews were conducted in English and Spanish and on landlines and cell phones. So we need to explain how using a variety of methods like this is going to help produce the non-sampling error. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just make sure we understand what non-sampling error is. So as soon as I take a sample, I'm going to get non-sampling errors. Here are some of the different non-sampling errors this is from your workbook. Okay, so we've got our non-response error, and so that's looking at those that do respond. Say I got a response rate of 10%. That means I've got information about 10% of the people that I'm interested in. So that means I've got no information from the other 90%. And this 90%, but those people might think quite differently to the 10% that I do have information from. Selection error. So that's looking at whether we've got certain groups over or underrepresented. Okay, and again, we want to have a representative sample. That's the key idea, is we want our sample to be representative so that we have no bias. Okay. Response error, and that's talking about how answers may not always be the truth. I might be saying what I think you want me to hear rather than what I actually believe. So I might tell you, no, I didn't have any alcohol to drink on the weekend, when in actual fact I might have, but I just don't want anyone to know, or things like that. Self-selection error, so that's when people volunteer and say, yes, I'll give you a hand with that. Yeah, sure, not a problem. And it could be that the people who do offer think differently to those that don't. So if we're talking about voting on, say, American Idol, people who feel really strongly about it will vote and spend their money on it. People that don't feel strongly won't. And they may have quite different music tastes to those that do respond. And survey error, looking at the wording of the questions, the order in which they're asked, the number and types of options, all of that kind of stuff, making sure people understand it, that can cause some errors. So those are some examples of it, and they explicitly give us some hints here. They say that the sample was collected in LA and Boston. So one of the big ideas there is I want to think about, is the data representative? Okay, do the people in LA and Boston think similarly to everywhere else in the USA? Okay, do they have the same opinions? Do they have different opinions? And that's what I would want to write that's one of the things I could write up to do that. Now, they want us to explain how using a variety of methods could help. So the fact that they've chosen 2 cities, is that better than just having 1 city? And if so, why is it better? And why would that reduce the non-sampling error? Okay, so having more information from a variety of cities makes the data more representative. Of all the USA, therefore reducing non-sampling error. Okay, so that's one thing that we could talk about it. Another thing we could talk about, they did the survey in English and Spanish. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How does that improve? How does that change our error rate? Does it make it more? Does it make it less? And one of the things, again, coming back to this idea of representative, if you've got it in 2 languages, is that better? So asking the questions in 2 languages, is that better or worse than just asking in 1? And I would say that is better because you're going to collect data from more people. okay? Therefore, more representative. Okay, and that's because there are a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the States. Okay, so that's two things that we've looked at. The other one that they've talked about is the landline versus cell phones. Okay, using two methods, is that better than using one method? Why would it be better? Why would it not be better? And again, I would argue that because you're doing it from using two methods, you're more likely to collect data from a wider range of people, getting data that is more representative. Okay? And that's what we would want to talk about. So, in terms of if you're able to describe one of the issues, but you weren't clearly linking that to the bias, then that gets you an achieved. If you are able to talk about one of those things with clear reasoning, then that gets you a merit. If you get clear reasoning for both of the aspects, so two things, then that would get you through to your excellence. All right. So we need a description and talking about how it is connected to the non-sampling error.